Well, here we are again. Positively governmental. Man, we got to work on that name, buddy. Dave Furneaux and
Wade Evans.
all right. Um, so how you want to start tonight? Run through the council meeting?
Yeah, I was trying to pull up the agenda, but for some reason my computer's acting.
Well, I printed it. Let's see. We'll start with call to order. Now let's not go into that much detail.
All right.
Mayor's report. You want to update us on the school board property? Or you want me to take that?
Well, so in the meetings that the mayor's had with the school board, it looks as if though their building is going to take up more space on the property that we want to buy, and so we're in a slight pause while the building plans are updated and we see exactly what we have of property, so we'll know where we can build and what we can do. So that's what I took it as. So we're just kind of in a pause, and the mayor plans to move forward as soon as we get the information we need.
Yeah, so it basically just means we're going to shift the property some 20, 30 feet south, and it's going to be the same 2 acres, just a little bit different piece of property. So a lot of reports and stuff. We do have an introduction of an item for next week relative to public comment, and it's something Wade and I have talked about frequently, and we're basically just reordering public comment so that the council does its weighs in on the subject before we ask for public comment, so that way they're making a fully informed comment on what we intend to talk about rather than guessing what kind of amendments we may make or guessing what additional information we may bring. It'll streamline the meeting a little bit and make sure that everybody talks on a very speaks on a very informed subject before we close public comment.
I'm still curious though, because the last meeting I had an issue where I wanted to ask one of the people that was there some questions about what we were doing, and had to make a motion to approve, and then had to get a second before I could communicate. And so I'm still 2 years in, I still struggle with some of that sometimes, but hopefully this will change that order and make it easier to communicate with each other about these bills before we make a motion to approve. You can clarify that if you will.
No, that's right. I think this will clean a lot of that up. We'll just have to see how it rolls. We also had a discussion item before that about public availability of audio recordings of public meetings. Now, the Boxcast video broadcast that you see is sometimes unreliable. It's not like Wade's video right now is kind of unreliable. There you go. It sometimes gets so there's an audio problem or the mics can't be heard, etc. But there is an official city recording that's handled on a small recorder that's tied into the sound system. And it's right up there at the front of the building, the front of the council meeting. And those recordings are archived at City Services. And currently, you can go get a copy of those recordings with a public records request, and they'll give you a CD, and you pay $5. But with computer technology the way it is, I've asked the mayor to look into just posting those links right there next to the agenda and the minutes. So you pull up the agenda of the prior council meetings in the archives on the website, click that little link, and you can hear us talk if that's important to you.
There was, back, I remember we had discussed posting a lot of the stuff online, even check registers or whatever, true accounting. And I don't know what happened with that. It was one of the platforms the mayor had actually discussed, but this is a step in the right direction, in my opinion, because it makes it easier than having to go and ask for the recording. It's just right there. And this past meeting was a great example. I was getting texts from people saying, hey, audio's not working.
I couldn't have set that up any better. I introduced this little discussion about the unreliability, and sure enough, no audio for that entire meeting on the video.
That's exactly right.
So I've been accused of making that happen, but it really wasn't. It wasn't intentional. So what wasn't a sabotage. We selected a firm for the technical assistance for the culvert replacement. We've invested quite a bit in our master drainage plan, and there's 16 culverts that are going to be enlarged throughout the major channels and tributaries to our drainage system, where they are the bottleneck for a 50 or 75-year, even a 25-year flood, so that culverts going under roads are not backing up and holding water from the subdivisions and other residential areas.
Well, and I mean, it goes back to what we know is our hot spots. And a lot of those hot spots are hot spots because of these issues. There's a section down by Bridlewood that the drainage has to go back east on Hooper Road, cross over the road has to go north, cross over the road, then comes west, and then catch up with the Bridlewood water. And it's very inefficient. So until they redo Hooper Road, which Senator White is hoping to get done while he's still in office, it still could be years and years away.
Wait, I'm 61. You're younger than me. You might see that completed.
Well, I hope so. I hope it's something that we do.
So the only other thing on the agenda Tuesday night was some zoning cases, and no matter how hard you try, something else always pops up. We kept having to give waivers for private sewer treatment plants, MODADs, because people are too far away from sewer lines. So we got that out of the code and said, look, if you're not close to a gravity sewer line, yes, you can have a MODAD. And now we find that even if you're close to it, sometimes you might have to go under a state highway. So we issued a couple of waivers on that. We got to start thinking about whether we're going to make people bore under state highways to access gravity sewer lines. That's the next little challenge for cleaning up the city, as it were.
Well, and honestly, I'm a firm believer that maybe we need to look at our sewer master plan, which we spent money putting together, and maybe every couple of years do a capital outlay project to bury a lift station and run some gravity line. So maybe in the next 50 years, we'll have the availability that people won't have to have MODADs. But
yep.
Until we start putting the infrastructure where we want it, that's how it's going to be.
Well, let me just run down the list of things that happened this week. I've got the Central Speaks newspaper here, and whoever puts that together, Beth Fusel, she does a good job of garnering all the little events. Went to the Memorial Day service this evening at Comite Baptist Church. It was a great service. Karen Vaughn is a Gold Star mother whose son died back in 2011 as a Navy SEAL, and she just had a powerful, powerful message for the group. And we got so many in Central that have served, and so many that have lost loved ones. And of course, Memorial Day. Someone posted. I think my wife posted this, and I saw it. Veterans Day. Let's see. Armed Services Day for those who are wearing the uniform, Veterans Day for those who have hung up the uniform, and Memorial Days for those who never got out of the uniform. So Memorial Day is a special day. People have given a lot, and like I say, her testimony was powerful about her son. And if you get a chance to attend one of the Memorial Day services here in Central, they're usually pretty well done and very meaningful, very challenging.
Yeah, and they usually have it at school, or is it?
No, that's the Veterans Day. Yeah, Memorial Day used to be over at the church across the street from the stadium, and they moved it to Comite the last 2-3 years. Just need a facility big enough to handle that. In other places this week, got football camp starting, baseball camp starting, the CAF open house. Central Athletic Foundation is having an open house down at it's called the Legacy. It's formerly Sherwood Forest Country Club. They do tennis and swimming there. So June the 3rd, 3 to 5, tennis instruction, 5 to 7, swimming relays, and 7:30 poolside movie. You can click here, register here. Go to the Central Athletic Foundation website or Facebook page. I'm sure there's a link to get a ticket and go participate in that. And ribbon cutting at Cheeky Monkey on the 4th at noon, and City Council meeting on the 8th. And that's about it for the things happening around Central.
Pretty neat little place. I'm going to tell you what, that small businesses in Central they're the backbone, obviously. Cheeky Monkey, they took a chance during a pandemic to open up a place for gatherings for kids. And I couldn't be more happy with their support. And also the Treads and Care. I mean, if you drive down Hooper Road at night, Trey and his team at TBT Construction and Devin Holly and his group, I mean, they built a really beautiful building. And I remember when this was going through P&Z, and we were discussing it as a car repair shop and concerned about the doors and how they put them. You couldn't ask for a more beautiful building at night. And during the day, it's very attractive, but a great asset, Cheeky Monkey right there in that same development. Happy to have them there.
And for anyone who doesn't know, the Council on Aging is just in that building behind there too. It says Lotus over the door, but that's the new home for Council on Aging. For those who didn't know where that ended up, they have a great facility too. So we had two items we thought we'd talk about tonight, since we had a little bit of a light agenda at council. One of them is the City Hall project we already talked about. So that leaves us with the big drama of the day, Breck this morning at the House. Obviously, the Breck carve out of Central and Zachary has been kind of tops on all the social media and newspapers, and there's been a lot of back and forth. And for anyone who doesn't know what's happened, about I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks ago, Senator White reintroduced a bill he had introduced back in 2008, and which carved out Central and Zachary from Breck and gave Central and Zachary the opportunity to run their own recreation departments. And it sailed through the Senate and got to the House committee, and that was going to be this morning. Late night yesterday, the senator made a deal or reached an agreement in principle with Corey Wilson, the superintendent of Breck, that Central stays in, and that makes a lot of people in Baton Rouge very happy. They didn't want to see us carved out. And in exchange, Breck is supposed to give us more of a voice, give Central more of a voice in how the capital improvements are prioritized here and the policies on park usage and things. That's a deal in the making. The mention to this morning at the hearing was that there would be a citizens committee from Central to give input to Breck. Of course, it's non-binding. This is simply going to be an experiment for a year, and the senator made it clear that if it goes well this year, that's fine. If it doesn't, then the insinuation was the bill will come back next year if we can't get along and keep all parties happy. So you've been pretty involved in looking at that. Wade, you got some opinions?
Well, through the whole process, I've spoken to a lot of citizens also, and there's a lot of valid concerns about the speed at which this would take place. A lot of concerns. There are a lot of people in Central who utilize Breck services throughout the parish. One of the issues that came up was the out of parish rates if we were no longer part of Breck. And through my brainstorming, one of the things I thought was, well, we have a way to track IDs and licenses and zip codes and addresses and everything else. And so maybe we could do a cooperative endeavor to possibly subsidize back to Breck for the use of those facilities by our citizens. But one of the big things to me is I would like to see the theater classes, the dance classes, the drama, the music, glass blowing, whatever's available inside of Breck. I think we need that in Central for those people in Central who want to do that. And that was one of the things that I don't want to say people were opposed to the separation. There was just not enough information for them to get on board 100%. And so I'm hoping that through this year of trying to figure it out, we can come to some agreements and put a plan together that works for everyone. And if not, we'll have a year of putting it together and knowing where we really stand and what it'll really take anyway. So I look at it as a good move, a reset, if you will, to give us a chance to work with Breck. And look, at the end of the day, I was elected to represent the interest of the people in Central. And it doesn't matter to me how we get the services. I just want to provide the best services we can. And if that involves a good cooperation with Breck, great. And if we find that it's still empty promises. Well, then at least we've actually spent this year working to get where we want to go. And I think the input from those people is valuable. And I look forward to hearing from them. One of the things the nature lovers are concerned about, how will it affect the hiking trails and the biking and those of us that want to use the other facilities and, paying for Bluebonnet Swamp, which is a great asset, but it's just so far away. We've got Frenchtown Road, which is pretty amazing if you like to hike. That you can go to as well. But I don't know, Dave. I take everything at face value, so I hope it can produce results.
So one of the things that came out of this, it was rather contentious. There's even a group within Central that was opposed to it, a group that were supportive of it, and I've had people make the comments never should have been brought up, and other people say it should have passed and should have forced the issue, etc. One of the things I'll say is that if anyone thinks it shouldn't have been brought up, 2 months ago we had Breck and a lot of people in Central saying, why isn't Breck doing the types of improvements that we specify, and why don't we get more say-so on the use of the parks? And today, having brought this bill up and had a little bit of turmoil and anxiety over it, now we're in a position where Breck is looking at Central and saying, okay, how can we hear your voice, and how can we get better input from you? So just the running of the bill caught Breck's attention and caught people's in Central's attention to the point that we're going to get better representation at the parish level with Breck. So whether you figure it was a good or bad thing to introduce, we're better off today than we were 2 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a lot of questions about how did I find out? Did Bodie consult me or you? Or that was all just hearsay. I mean, we all found out about it the same way. Breck started making noise in Central, wanted to tell us about all the good they were doing. And it raised my eyebrows because honestly, I hadn't, other than the digital Christmas cards, I hadn't heard from anybody at Breck. And then all of a sudden, they don't roll a millage forward and they want to come tell us about all the great things they're doing. And it raised my eyebrows like, hey, what's going on? And I found out about it by inquiring, like, hey, why all of a sudden are we doing this? And that's when I had learned about the bill. So at the end of the day, it's, what they say, politics is like sausage making. Everybody loves to eat it, but nobody wants to see it made. And that's just kind of the way it is. So,
well, the only thing we got left on the agenda, Wade, is we've got to find a name for this show. Dave and Wade's Excellent Adventure? I mean, where do we need to go with this?
Well, we can go to Wade's Random Appearances by his kids. I mean, there was a comment that on one of the last shows, guy, he just didn't care for me, thought it was a joke. So maybe I could throw some comedic bits in. I don't know, Dave.
Look, what your brother says about you is not, well, okay. Okay. I do have a question out there. When is Jackson Park scheduled to reopen? I have no idea. I do know that I may be one of the reasons it's delayed. I live right near there, and about 6 months ago, I drove by that parking lot after a rain, and it was holding puddles of water 4 and 5 inches deep all over the place. So I called a friend of mine who's in that business and said, "Look, if pavement, if asphalt is holding water, is that gonna cause a problem?" He said, "Yeah, man." He said, "You're gonna have potholes and cracks and deterioration that before you know it. It needed to have all been sloped so it drains." So I got with Breck and I said, "Hey, get an engineer out here." And they came out and they had to re-pour that entire parking lot. So I'm sure that set them back a month. But there's a lot of construction going on out there. There's a major reconfiguration. And I don't know what kind of contract they have, what kind of penalties they have for slow performance or bonuses for quick performance, but that's got to have already lapsed. It's a government project.
Yeah, I would imagine.
It's a government project. I guess they'll get finished when it gets finished.
It's been around, the construction has been going on as long as the pandemic, pretty much. So,
and Donnie asked for a City Hall update. Just to recap for anybody who didn't turn in early, we talked about that at the very beginning. The mayor has met with, of course, the council by 6-1 vote, authorized and requested the mayor to make a purchase offer on 2 acres from the school system to be a site for a future city hall. No commitment to build at this point, but The school system is dressing up that corner, spending, I don't know, $4, 5, $6 million building their facility, paving the entire area around that part of the stadium. I don't know how far the paving is going to go, but it's going to be a significant improvement. Dressing up the front of the stadium, and it's going to be a great looking corner. And the renderings they've gotten are just very impressive. And there's a spot there for City Hall. So the mayor has met with superintendent and the school board president and determined that the piece of property we were offering for was just a few feet the wrong way. The school wants to build their facility a little bit on that piece of property, so they're working right now to redraw the lines and figure out the exact property lines of what we're offering to buy, and then I'm sure we'll proceed with that. Someone says the people that are working on Brett Park must be the same people working on Sullivan Road.
It's quite possible. I know Boone Services has been out there a lot lately.
I do know they hit a big snag with groundwater. They had to work around and install some pumping systems to be able to finish the job. So they've had some problems, but I also know that a lot of legislatures are on their backs trying to get them to push forward.
Well, they're catching it from all sides. I mean, the legislators at the state level, parish level. I mean, the citizens are complaining. So just got to keep making noise, and maybe they'll send somebody out there to work tomorrow. Who knows? I haven't been going that way because the construction keeps me away.
All right, this woman is a really smart aleck. The one that's making these comments, she said they must also be working on the diversion canal. That's my wife, as a matter of fact.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, look, I made a comment on one of her posts earlier about it. Yeah, you two were standing on a rock. So it looks like y'all standing on something as hard as Dave's head.
That rock is jealous of my head, buddy.
I tell you, the diversion canal. Well, there's some chatter on Facebook today about drainage, but I will say this, and people can agree or disagree or what have you. Considering the amount of rain that Central has been getting, and if you look at the numbers, just the absolute flash flood numbers from 2016 on that Friday, and juxtaposed to what we had, I think, last August or so, when we got maybe 7 inches in just a few hours, and maybe 1 or 2 people got water in their house. And excuse me, my phone rang. For the most part, I'm unaware of anybody that got water in their house just recently. And I know that Winchester and Blackwater Bayou stayed up very high. The Comey River was up very high. So whether we're doing enough, that's debatable. Am I happy with where we are? Not exactly, but I think we're moving in the right direction. And with what we've got in our budget, which we didn't talk about because it's not on today's show, but it will be on next week's show, obviously, because our budget will be voted on. But we've added some money, and I think we're willing to add more money if that needs to happen. I look forward to those discussions.
The mayor's budget was $300,000 for drainage, and the council said, yes, let's do that. And then we added another $2.1 million, and the mayor said, yes, let's do that. So we're all on the same page. $2.4 million investment this year, and like you say, there's a lot more that can be done, and we have the resources to do it.
Well, and one of the things that I look forward to is, really hitting the roadside ditches in neighborhoods hard. One of the things that as a city, the one thing we can do is dig out the roadside ditches. And if nothing else, we increase our storage capacity for when the Comey River is high and when Beaver Bayou is high. If we can store more water in the ditches, it's less of a chance of it getting in houses. So I look forward to hopefully ramping up that activity and see if we can't go out with some gusto on this drainage stuff.
There you go. Yeah, I did mention up front, one of the things that Wade and I have done is to try to prove that you can talk about governmental/political things and do it respectfully. And Wade and I have been fierce opponents and decent friends, and through it all, we've learned how to talk, disagree agreeably. So hope we see more of that, and hope that you call our hand on it anytime you see us being disagreeable.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. And look, if you think I'm a clown or a joke, I eat every day, and I like eating lunch, and I would welcome anyone who loves me or hates me to at least. Chances are you probably don't know me, and I think if you would give me a shot, you probably would find that I am a joke and I am a clown, but I'm a clown with some substance. So,
So you're substantially a clown. That's what you're saying.
yes,
Okay,
I'm
good,
very good.
good, good.
Very good.
Look, we've always promised that by the time we run out of things to say, we go ahead and sign off and not try to stretch this thing any more than it is. And we're talking about clowns at this point, so I think it's
Yeah,
time to sign off. What do you think?
I'm in. I'm
All right.
out. Thank you.
We will see you next week. Thank you.